So somebody asked like for the most efficient or the best way to migrate to Compose, right? Let's say that you have a complex app and you want to migrate fully to Compose. Obviously, it's not an easy task. It's going to be a challenge. I think it's important to understand also that is going to be a long-term project. It's not something that you can tackle in 1 or 2 sprints or anything like that. So you really need to think about, the number of users or the number of devs that you have available, how many people are going to work on that, if they can consider this project a priority or it's going to be more like a secondary project. So many things that we need to keep in mind. But if I use my experience in companies like Twitter, formerly Twitter, and now Disney Streaming, like leading these kind of Compose initiatives, I personally think that the best way to handle this is inside out in a way. So we are going to try to leverage the power of interoperability between Compose and views, and maybe migrate the inner elements, for example, in our recycler views to Compose first, and then kind of go from inside out, migrating wider and wider components, right? So if we think about a simple feed where you have a complex recycler view with different types of items that you can render, for example, in the case of Disney or in the case of apps like Netflix and similar, because it can show like different types of items like movies, TV shows, recommendations, other types of content. What you could do is basically migrate the inner elements first, which is basically all the different types of items that your framework or your app is able to render. And then you would migrate, you would go one step up and migrate the actual parent, which is the recycler view, and maybe also the headers, if you have some headers or sticky headers or things like that, separators, decorations, things like that, and try to go from inside out, right? That normally works very well. I must say that per my experience working on this, the performance is really good when you use interoperability, at least if you don't go, you don't switch from views to Compose, then back to views, then back to Compose like many times. So you have that type of complexity where you have lots of nesting and you really need to bridge or jump from one system to the other many times. I'm not that sure how it's going to perform, but that's not normally the case, right? Normally you can face this challenge or this initiative in a way that doesn't do that many jumps, let's say. And it works really well, like performance is really good. Something that I totally recommend that we've been doing also is using macro benchmarks, okay? So macro benchmarks are going to be helping us to understand